Good to have you here tonight on a roasting evening with Terry Kelzer, and we're talking about shortcakes, but in a way, for me, the purpose of that is to get strawberries on top of them. So glad to have you here. Pleasure to see you all, and pleasure to be with you, Terry. My name is Mike. I'm the Farm Table Program Director. So our mission is to build local food culture and to rekindle connections between local people and local food, farmers, and the land. And one of the ways we do that is to teach from scratch cooking skills, as that's one of the ways to build local food culture is have folks who know how to cook that good food that comes from the area. And our restaurant serves very local food. Hopefully you can get there soon. It's continues to be very delicious. I can brag about that because I have nothing to do with it, except I get to eat there and serve water sometimes. So welcome again, everybody. Terry is one of our favorite teachers, as you all know. I know you all know her, I believe. So Terry, feel free to say more about yourself or whatever you wish. I'm glad to have you here.
Welcome, everyone. Strawberry shortcake. We're right into strawberry season. Local patch by us is opening up very soon. June 14th is National Strawberry Shortcake Day, so I hope that everybody will be inspired to make one of these different shortcakes that I'm going to go through tonight. We're going to do 3 shortcakes, and I think I'm going to show you the finished, and then I'll show you how we get there. The first cake we'll be doing is the traditional sweet biscuit shortcake. And then the second one, this is a sponge type cake, and it's a look-alike Charlotte cake, and I'll tell you how we get this done. It's really pretty fun. And our final cake is more like a pound cake, and this is a Swedish almond. It's a Swedish almond cake made with almond paste, and so it is almond paste and butter put together, and it makes a wonderful moist cake, wonderful with strawberries. So we're going to start out with our classic sweet biscuit shortcake. And this is, if you follow your recipe, and I'm going to put this in a blender food processor, 4 cups of flour, and I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup of sugar. We're going to get, this is 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder. Now this is kind of a lot of baking powder, so I always recommend if you're going to put that much baking powder in, get a baking powder that doesn't taste like aluminum. Recommend the Rumford baking powder. It doesn't have aluminum. That metallic taste can come through a biscuit.
Terry, did you say Rumford?
Rumford, yes.
Okay.
It's one of the original baking powder companies from 1850. There was a lot of competition among baking powder companies. Baking powder was a very big deal when it first came out because you didn't need yeast. Previously, everything was leavened with yeast. So then this one pretty much kept its same recipe. It was a baking powder my grandma would only use. I had to drive her to like 10 stores in a city until she could find it because it wasn't everywhere at that point, although it was one of the 3 in the early 1900s, the 3 main baking powders. It's a very good one. I recommend it. And so we're just going to mix our dry ingredients together a little bit here. And then we're going to put in our cold butter. I'm going to cut it in some cubes. And we got a stick of butter. This was ice cold 15 minutes ago. It's got a little warm. I hope everybody has air conditioning these days. It's so hot today. She likes to give me trouble sometimes. Come on. Any trouble all week. Just have to talk to it. So now we have the crumbly mixture like you do in pie crust.
Terry, you said it was ice cold, the butter, but now it's not. Does it matter what it's like when you do that process?
It's pretty cold. It was still pretty cold. You know, it's biscuits. Now we're going to put in a cup of buttermilk. You're kind of supposed to mix all these together a little bit. So I'm going to mix that egg in with the cream. It just has one egg. And then I'm going to pour most of the cream in here too. All right, come on. Nice to meet today. And now you're going to see it all come together. And there's our dough. Don't want to overmix it. And you can take just the eggs. And we're going to take our work surface. We're going to sprinkle some flour. We are just making biscuits here, but just a very rich biscuit. Growing up, strawberry shortcake at my house was angel food cake with strawberries. Mother would get a box of Betty Crocker angel food cake mix, which she thought was the most wonderful thing that was ever invented. Mother was a cake mix person. So I have to clean that up a little bit more. There's not a lot of rest. Okay, now we're just going to gentle it. We're not going to work it up too much. We're going to try to kind of make a shape and press it out. And you want it kind of thick. I don't know if you can see. We're like so. And then okay, then we're going to take a cutter and you're going to gentle it in. You're not going to try to force the wedges. And it really helps if you get some flour on your cutter. Flour it every time. And you just want to gentle it in. And hand me that pan with the we're going to put them on our sheet pan, prepared sheet pan.
Terry, are those both richer and sweeter than a regular biscuit?
Yes, they are. The butter and cream and egg. Mostly my baking powder biscuits, I would just use some buttermilk. You usually get 5 the first time. And then you kind of push it together, but don't overwork it. The crispy dough or flaky dough for a biscuit, you just don't want to overwork it. That's kind of the key. And then Your last ones aren't quite as pretty. They're not as pretty. This one probably is for the cook. Got little wrinkles there.
I'd be happy to eat one with wrinkles.
All right. They taste good. Is that little cup that had the egg and cream? There was a little left in the bottom there. And I'm going to paint the top of these. So I was saying when my mother, she made it was always angel food cake and strawberries in strawberry season. And when I went to work at the Minnesota room, I was pastry chef there. The pastry chef got sick, and I was the college student. I was asked if I learned to be the pastry baker, and sounded kind of fun. So one of the first assignments was traditional strawberry shortcake. They wanted several pans. We're going to put this right into a 425-degree oven. 20 minutes. And as I was saying, that was when I first learned that angel food cake is not a traditional, shortcake. The shortcake that goes back to colony days when the first colonists came to America, Native Americans were eating strawberries, and they made a special cake by mixing the strawberries with cornmeal and cooking it over an open fire. And that was their shortcake. And then the colonists worked to develop their own example of a shortcake, and pretty much came up with a biscuit. And that is the most traditional. I believe I have this. This is a quote from Evan Jones, celebrated food writer, native of Minnesota, from American Food, The Gastronomic Story. He writes, an unimpeachable strawberry shortcake needs a baking powder biscuit dough, lavishly mixed with butter and cream, baked to flaky perfection. This is carefully split into 2 layers, the lower of which is usually slathered with butter before accepting its burden of berries with sugar to make a filling that drips in rivulets down the side. The top half, also hot, is buttered and then placed on the top of the berries. So it's supposed to be the most perfect sheet cake. And I know nowadays we don't usually butter the biscuit. You always think cream is enough. If you're going to put the strawberries right on, it is a good idea because it keeps, they don't immediately soak right through the biscuit, and your biscuit is more of a biscuit when you get to eating it.
Well, that's a very very practical reason to add butter, not anything to do with taste.
Right, although it tastes bad. And and strawberries are uniquely American. They were growing everywhere in the Northeast when the first settlers came, and they were then brought to Europe. And those explorers that explored South America brought the kind of strawberry from South America back to Europe, to France, and then the people who explored North America brought their berry back, and then they were crossed to what is supposed to be the berry that is nowadays in Europe, the most popular strawberry in Europe. So, not quite ready. Okay, so our shortcake is cooking, and I have a slight issue with, I'm going to be having another cake going in, and it doesn't need quite as hot an oven. So I think as long as those biscuits have started at 425, I am going to change the temperature now to 375. And then, so when our next cake is done, it won't be quite as much of a shock for it. All right. Now, our first cake used hard butter. This cake will use melted butter. And this is our Charlotte shortcake. Now, I came across this wonderful pan. This is made by Nordic Ware. And I don't, you know, it's just gorgeous. And it makes a cake that looks like a Charlotte cake. You can, I think it was a year ago that I made the strawberry cream, Swedish strawberry cream cake with ladyfingers all around. And each ladyfinger is made separate and then is attached to the center sponge. And it's quite a big process. This little pan makes the cutest Charlotte look-alike. It's available. When I saw it, I just had to have it. It's available Amazon, but it's Nordic Ware. It's a really heavy pan. And the main thing that you have to worry about with these fancy pans with all the grooves is your cake is going to get stuck. And if my friends, I know, I think Ruth is on the line there with us tonight, and she makes the most wonderful Swedish almond cakes. And this is the traditional pan for these almond cakes. And again, it has ridges all the way through it, which is wonderful for slicing your cake and things like that. But the only trick is getting your cake out of the pan. And we have buttered pans and floured them and re-oiled them and tried everything we could do. And a lot of times they would still stick until it came to this 4 baking pan, which I generally don't use for everything, but for fancy pans, it is the only thing that gets your cake out of the pan. And out of the pan without any breakage. And so what I'm going to do is spray it. And then I'm going to go one step farther, and I'm going to take a little paintbrush, and I'm just going to be doubly sure that some of these edges are also all oiled, because any little sticking is what you don't want.
So Terry, if you were using, like I have a little spray bottle that has olive oil in it, you know, a refillable, would that not work as well as this?
No, and then I would flour it, and then I would spray it again, and then I would flour it again. It's there's something about, especially for, you know, just a regular, you know, you can make this cake in a round 9-inch pan, and you won't have any trouble. And usually for a round pan like that, I'll put down a parchment, so then you just can slit around the sides and drop it out. But so we're pretty well covered here now. So our pan is ready to go. This is a sponge, a classic sponge. The amount of ingredients are quite small, really. And I'm going to get our eggs going. Oh, I forgot to take up my eggs. So I'm going to take, would you take 4 more eggs out of the cooler and put them in hot water for me? I'm going to start our eggs because they take a few minutes. So my other eggs will warm up well. You really, for sponge cake or pound cake, you want room temperature eggs. And do this. all the difference in the world. So we're going to take our eggs, 4 room temperature eggs, and add a half a cup of sugar. And I am going to beat that. I have to change my cord here. Can you reach that, dear?
Excuse me.
You can do this. Okay. I was going to mention in Bavaria, the annual rite of tying small baskets of wild strawberries to the horns of cattle as an offering to the gnomes is still practiced by country folk. Elves and gnomes are believed to be passionate about strawberries, and the offering will mean healthy calves and abundant milk. Also, it's interesting, I never really thought about it, that strawberries are the only fruit that has the seeds on the outside. And that makes it for easier scattering of the seeds in the wild. Of course, that doesn't work with the hybrid strawberries, but I think with wild strawberries, that's how they got spread around. The earliest known shortcake recipe dates back to 1588 from an early English cookbook. And it was the biscuit-style shortcake. And also, authors have written about strawberries. William Butler wrote in the 17th century, "Doubtless God could have made a better berry, but doubtless God never did." And William Shakespeare wrote, "The strawberry grows underneath the nettle, and wholesome berries thrive and ripen best, neighbored by fruit of baser quality." So yeah, strawberries have been around a long, well, in 1625, Francis Bacon described how strawberry leaves dying yield an excellent cordial smell, suggesting that strawberries were admired as much for their scent as for their taste. All right, I'm going to take our dry ingredients here. This is only 2/3 of a cup of flour. We have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder is all. With minimal ingredients, and I'm just going to mix that with a fork. Now, of our 3 recipes, the first one used hard butter, the second one here is using melted butter, and our third one is going to use soft butter. So, is there any questions about a sponge cake? This is a really classic old recipe, considered French, and then the English picked it up. The original recipe that I saw did not use any butter at all, and you can make it like that, but it seemed dry. So I went to the traditional technique, whipping the eggs and sugar, sprinkling in the flour mixture, and then you'll see we'll just pour the warm butter as the last thing to go in. And then it just makes it 10 times the cake. Now I'm going to add a little vanilla to our egg mixture. All right. Now you can take this here. And you can see we're like 3 times what we started with. And it's bubbly and airy and light and slightly thick. Now we're going to take our dry ingredients and put them in a sieve. And we're just going to sprinkle them over the top. And then we want to fold gently so we don't do away with our nice aerated eggs. It's really a simple recipe. Don't want to overmix, that's the main thing. And you just want to fold to combine. And then, traditional way to put butter into a sponge cake is you take the bowl and you just trickle it around the edges. And then you just you just want to fold that in as well. Gentle, gentle. Just be sure you reach to the bottom and come up. Okay. And into the pan. And this should fill this pan 3/4 full, which is just what we've got here.
Terry, is there anything to say about the kinds of flour you might use? Is it the same for all three, or any advantages?
Yes, I did not use any pastry flour, cake flour. This is all Sunrise all-purpose flour, Sunrise Mill all-purpose flour, white flour.
Okay, great. Well, I can mention a minute a little about Sunrise Flour.
Yep.
They're an organization, a mill up in North Branch, Minnesota, and they feature organic and non-hybrid heritage. And some people, as you may have heard me say before, find that they can eat bread and other products from that bread, even if they're gluten intolerant or have a hard time with gluten. And that may have, for some people, it may have something to do with it being heritage, in other words, not hybridized, as well as organic. So there's not glyphosate, which is found in Roundup, sprayed on it. So it's good stuff. We do sell it at our restaurant in the retail section.
I'll use it next. Okay. And I think our biscuits are just coming out now. Fill those. And you see how nice and high they are. I'm going to just take a minute and cancel that timer and set a new timer for 30 and start that. Okay, now these are our fresh biscuits. You can see they're really nice and high, puffy. They're beautiful. They smell beautiful. By putting your biscuits together, it helps them to rise. If you station them around, they don't rise as well. So snuggle them together and you get higher biscuits also. These are light and nice, and except for the cooked ones, they're kind of pretty.
That one's mine, Terry, remember?
Okay, that one's got Mike's name on it. Okay, all right. So, we come to our last cake tonight. And this one is more like a pound cake. And this is a recipe that I took out of a gourmet magazine. I would guess like maybe in the early 90s. I've been making it for years and years and years. I I like it because it's moist. It's really flavorful. The almond just bursts. It's a good keeper. It stays moist. Just all around great cake. My girlfriend, when I was in high school, it was about a year or two afterwards, and we used to have, cooking dinners together and make all kinds of fancy foods and things together. And her family was quite a gourmet family, and they sort of really introduced me to food and eating, besides them and the restaurants, because at home, mother was a nice lady, but she was not interested in cooking. She did her job. She provided food, but to spend time making it, really, she didn't. That was not her interest at all. So I was like 16 years old before I had a plate of spaghetti with meat sauce. I'd never tasted it ever, and that was mother considered fringe food. I don't know. These friends of mine that I got to know through high school and through their family, and when they would sit down to eat, it was just like a great experience, and everything they tasted, they commented on and said, "Oh my gosh, that's great. Now, how long did you cook this sauce? How long did you do that? How did you change this?" It was just like everything was tasted and talked about, something I had never seen in my life. But I thought it was wonderful. And then when I started working in restaurants, I found the same thing, that they were continually trying to improve at what they were making, that they were never satisfied, that food was not something that you just dumped out of a box, and because you knew you had to have dinner, you had to think of something. And it was just more of a all-round experience of tasting and getting, fresh ingredients and where everything came from at a time when I don't know that was the mainstream. Although they were in some restaurants, Minnesota Room was a great from-scratch restaurant. We had a great chef, and everything there too was, everybody was tasting, everybody was competing to make something better than the last person made, which was, to me, was the greatest fun in the world. So I don't know if our people are familiar with using almond paste. I think our Swedish people are. You get it in, I get these boxes of Solo almond paste. I find they're very, very good. But you get this block like this, and it's firm, and it's a little hard to work with. So I'm going to just grab me some kind of a sharp knife.
Pretty sharp.
That's my best. Yeah. And I'm just going to cut this in a few pieces. Now, you'll notice the recipe says 7 ounces of almond paste. I have found all my Swedish recipes call for 7 ounces of almond paste. And interestingly enough, the box, it's an 8-ounce portion of almond paste. So I thought, why does everything have 7 ounces and you have this extra 1 ounce? So I always thought, I'll just put it in. What's an ounce? And which I have done. And another friend told me that last ounce was for the cook, which I hadn't heard before, but all right. I still put it in. So this, we have soft butter, a cup of butter. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I want the sugar now. All right. It calls for 1.5 cups of sugar. So do I have? If you open that drawer, see, I thought it was already, there's that plastic bag with sugar. I have a cup here.
All right.
No, I'm going to, because I have to take half and half.
Very good.
This is our sugar we got here. Okay, I'm going to take, it calls for 1.5 cups, and what I'm going to do is take the 1/2 cup, and I'm going to put that with the almond paste, and that will help break it up. Now we have to plug in my.
Pardon me. So sorry, guys.
No, you can't.
Okay. And I thought I would just
There you go. It stops jumping around when most of the lumps are out and it's smooth, and you have kind of a mealy texture. And really, I don't know what I'd do without a food processor for working almond paste, because it's really a very stiff product. So then I'm going to take those 4 eggs that you.
4 eggs.
And I'm going to need my mixer again. Grab me another bowl up there and the paddle bowl. And the paddle I can use. Okay. Doesn't need to be washed. Okay, now we're going to beat together the remaining butter and sugar. The butter and sugar. So I'm going to set those over here. And that's 1 cup of sugar still left in our recipe. I'm going to beat that together in our mixer. Now our butter for this is soft, so it's it mixes pretty easy. And it's just about 3 minutes. And then we want to add our flour mixture, which is 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I've mixed that and put that together here. And we're going to our eggs next. We're going to add our eggs one at a time. So I'm just going to step over to the side here. Yeah. This. Done with this. Oops. Egg, sugar, and almond paste.
Pardon me, guys.
You can smell that almond. Now we're going to stop it and we're going to make sure that we have kind of scrape down the sides like you do for. We're just going to. Okay, now we're nice and fluffy. Now we're going to add the dry ingredients. And I'm just going to give it a slow mix, kind of to bring it through, but then I'm going to finish it by hand. And so it's kind of a clumpy mixture right now. You want to again not take down your airiness. You want to fold. And this is a thicker batter. It's more like a pound cake.
Can you turn the bowl a little bit towards there?
Yeah. And you see, it's a real nice batter. And now I'm going to take into the cake pan. And put it in. So I think I was saying, my friend who loved food and all that, she got me a subscription to Gourmet magazine, like about 1965. And she renewed it every year until they went out of business about, I don't know, I don't know if it was the mid 2000s, but I couldn't believe it. She renewed it every single year for me. So this is going to bake for, then you can take that, with my hands. 55 minutes to an hour on this one. So just kind of remember where we are on our timer. We're at 13, so 15. So when that cake comes out, we'll add 45 minutes now. Okay, so those are our 3 cakes. Are there any questions? Everybody good?
Again, you can feel free to unmute yourself, folks, if you want to just chime in.
They are pretty straightforward cakes. You probably made a lot of them yourselves over the years.
Can you say again where you go for picking your strawberries, since they're probably going to be?
Yeah, our family goes to Casey's Berries, New Richmond. It's just south of Walmart.
Berries?
Casey's, Caseys. And yeah, I married into a family of berry pickers. I did not know that at the time while I was a city girl. And the Kelzer family picks berries. My husband would pick berries all day. He loved picking berries. If he was in a bad mood and there was some berries to pick, it was a great thing to have him go out and pick berries because then he'd be all happy. Didn't matter how hot it was, no matter how many berries there were was never too many for him. And his mom the same. They could stand and pick, and the family is still calling me about when are berries ready, when can people go pick berries. It was a family of berry pickers.
Jamie asked Terry if you have a favorite, I think meaning a favorite of the cakes, maybe.
Oh, I like each one. They're all quite different. Well, this one I've made the most and the longest. I've always enjoyed this as such a rich, and I love the almond flavor. If you're a fan of almonds, you can't go wrong. The almond paste has such a good flavor that you don't need any extra almond extract or anything. And I'll say, you can hand me those 3 plates and we'll kind of decorate up our cakes here. Grab me the whipped cream.
Terry, I've asked where you can buy Rumford. Is it pretty specialized now, or can you get it?
Now it's better because there are organic sections in stores. Marketplace has it in their organic section. Marketplace at St. Clair Falls. Most organic stores, food co-ops handle it.
Okay.
I think, yeah. So it is much more available. People do look for it, seek it out. That black knife again. Sorry. So I think I will use a fresh shortcake. Okay, this one is still warm, and we're going to cut it in half. It's hot. Yep, our little cake is done. Here comes our Charlotte. And you want to let this sit in the pan for just like 10 minutes till it's a little cooler, and then you'll want to get it out right away after that. Okay. Now I am going to put a little butter on my layers so that it doesn't get all soaked up right away. And I'm going to place strawberry sections and we're going to put our top and a good dollop of whipped cream. And then we have our macerated berries, which is berries that have sugar in them mixed with them, and then of course they make this wonderful juice. And so that would be a strawberry biscuit shortcake, bound to be tasty. Now, there's also, dip your plain berries, should you be interested, for a little extra flavor, it is suggested that a little dip of Cointreau adds kind of brings out the strawberry flavor even more. It's of course a little bit of a citrusy liqueur and kind of a nice addition that you could do. Of course, if your berries are really sweet and ripe, I wouldn't worry about it. And so now we're going to cut the little charlotte. No, I'm going to decorate it first. And the way, and this will keep, like if you do this, it will keep a day, you know, like you could eat it tomorrow night and it would still be good. And you kind of want to just spread your cream, good amount of cream, and then usually a lot of times that you can kind of do like a berry thing in the center. And so then we have like a little mountain of strawberries, and then we can cut a piece. Pull that out. And our charlotte cake, and then add a side of strawberries with that. I think that's a very tasty little cake. And of course, you could add a little more cream. Now, for our almond cake, it is the original recipe called for a Kirsch cream with it. And so, a lot of times if you flavor your whipped cream with vanilla or anything, just a teaspoon of Kirschwasser, which is actually a special cherry brandy from the Black Forest of Germany. It has to have this special seal and special nomenclature to be actual from the Black Forest of Germany. And I use this for my German cherry, Black Forest cherry cake. Of course, it is key for that. As cherries start to come in the summer, I will often get some real nice organic dark black cherries and pit them and just put them into a jar with Kirschwasser and just let them cure until it's Oktoberfest time. And then you have some very, very tasty cherries to decorate your Black Forest cherry cake. But it's nice with strawberries. So, and say you made extra whipped cream that was Kirsch cream and you didn't know what to do with it. We have discovered that the flavored whipped creams are wonderful in your coffee in the morning. So we just recently had one we had a leftover coffee flavored whipped cream from our tiramisu that we made, and then the extra whipped cream dollops we put in our coffee, and it was mighty tasty. So, all right. So,
get that for just $9. Papa Murphy's.
Terry,
yes.
put the coffee on and I'll be right over.
Okay.
That looks so delicious.
We all feel the same way.
So this one.
We could probably have a little strawberry party.
Yeah, we're ready here. Now this is This is just like a pound cake. It's dense and moist. It's beautiful. And this one I would just serve, maybe put the cream on first and a nice dollop of berries here.
Wow.
And I don't know how you could go wrong with any of these. They're all just very tasty. And Angela and I have got a big job to cut out here to eat these up.
When we can go back to Amory, and then we can have a taste.
Yes, indeed. I think our next class will be in Amory that I'm doing, and that is going to be the end of August. So
Okay.
I'm excited to be back in person where we can all make and taste together. I think that will be great.
And what are you cooking that day?
That day we're going to be doing risotto with fresh farm table garden vegetables.
Okay.
So it should be good. Featuring a lot of the local fresh produce.
It's always so good.
And
Yeah.
when you have good ingredients, you just can't go wrong.
Well, I think the cook makes a difference too.
Well, it helps, and it helps, just to learn from years of experience what works and what doesn't. I don't think there's a single cook that I couldn't learn something from. Also, everybody can teach everybody else.
As Terry mentioned, she'll be, I believe, taking the month of July off, but in August, yeah, we'll be back in person with Terry at Farm Table. And we have a good number of in-person classes coming up in July, August, September. Some of them will be out here at Hungry Turtle Farm, the farm that we're connected with, although it's a separate organization. So we'll be having some in-person outdoor classes, a birding class, making nest boxes for birds and bats. I'm going to be doing a kind of mindfulness and mindful eating class and connecting to spirituality and values and caring for the earth. So a variety of things coming up, including in probably late August and then in late September, 2 concerts. The September 25 concert will be with Rogue Valley, which is kind of a tradition for us. So it'll be a good celebration to be together again, folks.
Been a while.
Yeah. And any other questions, anybody? Or anything else you want to say, Terry?
I think I've said it all. That's all I have in me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll try some of these shortcakes. Yep. So good night, all.
Night all.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks
Take
so
care
much.
and have a good summer.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.